Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 216 based on novel. So let's start. Kafu's palms were like mountains, blocking the first strike. The momentum of the first strike was too terrifying, crushing his palms and slashing across his entire body. The might was so overwhelmingly heavy, and although it was weakened by the battle armor, still 70 to 80% of the force spread throughout his entire body, causing the powerful body of Kafu to tremble as countless cracks appeared. Kafu couldn't help but let out a low hum, with eyes becoming more fervent. At the same time, the second strike arrived. The dazzling second strike was completely different in style from the first. This strike carried the force of all things can be cut, penetrating the battle armor, and slicing into Kafu's body. In an instant, Kafu's body was cut into dozens of pieces, as if shattered porcelain pieced together. Wonderful. Even while fragmented into dozens of pieces, Kafu praised with surprise. Boom! The third strike followed. The third strike surged like a river, continuous and unending. After being weakened by the battle armor and transmitted into Kafu's body, it also stirred the forces of the first two strikes that were entrenched inside Kafu. The third strike triggered the power of the first two strikes, and all the power completely erupted in an instant. Bam! Kafu's powerful physical body exploded into a vast blood mist. However, the massive blood mist quickly condensed within the white battle armor, coalescing back into Kafu's form. Yet at this moment, Kafu's body energy reserve was depleted to only 20%. But he was continuously absorbing the power of destruction from the destruction world, and his energy reserve was rapidly climbing. 3 strikes, deplete 80% of my body's energy. Kafu laughed heartily. Across the endless primordial space, only Shoju could achieve this before. Shoju and Starlight are acknowledged as the two most powerful entities, yet the two have entirely different styles. Starlight excels at manipulating time and space, can observe the past and future, and calculates every possibility, mastering prolonged battles, hunting down every ounce of the enemy's power. Shoju represents destruction. Destruction. And destruction again. The lethal techniques she comprehended from the mysterious land, Tong Valley, have made many ancient beings fear her. Despite Demon Ruins having extremity in destructive power, its techniques are too cumbersome, needing close proximity and the tip of a bizarre cube to unleash the unbelievable destructive force. Ancestors and lords, unless they are foolish, can easily evade it. But some of Shoju's destructive techniques are unavoidable. This is why Shoju is on the 27th level while Demon Ruins is on the 22nd level. 3 strikes, capable of depleting 80% of Kafu's body. If hacked at me, wouldn't I be finished? Cannot take it head-on, absolutely cannot take it head-on. Judging by battling Kafu for more than one epoch, Luo Feng's strikes are hard to dodge. How is Lord Luo Feng's power this formidable? The ancient beings, their eyes piercing through space-time barriers, witnessed this battle. But this battle made them feel dread. Over 90% of ancient beings are judged, faced with Luo Feng, one can only flee. Absolutely must not engage in face-to-face combat. Engage head-on? Kafu is the example. Kafu has top 10 level power and battle armor, his physical body also considered formidable. Yet, 3 strikes resulted like this. I've heard that the hardest path to becoming a lord from the cultivator camp is break laws with force. The infinite snake ancestor, coiled with a body occupying most of the destruction world, gazed at Luo Feng. As the chief of the innate primordial camp, naturally gathering boundless information on the cultivator camp, the few paths for cultivators to breaking out of the cage are no secrets, easily known by the infinite snake ancestor. Starlight breaks laws with force, and Luo Feng does the same. Starlight's power matches Shoju. Moreover, can observe past and future, nearly observing every possible future. Facing him, I am already quite troubled. Luo Feng has newly become a lord, yet he is already on par with Starlight and Shoju. The infinite snake ancestor, naturally with detailed evaluation criteria for other ancestors and lords, after witnessing this battle, has already determined. Luo Feng, Starlight, Shoju, are at the same level. representing the pinnacle battle strength of the entire infinite primordial space. I may be capable of suppressing Kharfu, but no matter how long the combat is, I cannot destroy 80% of his body. The infinite snake ancestor sighed internally. This is an entirely transcendent destructive power. The leader of another great camp, the Ice Peak camp, also meticulously watched this battle, remembering every exchange between Luo Feng and Kharfu clearly, even analyzing countless times. This Luo Feng, his destructive force is stronger than mine. The Ice Peak ancestor admitted internally. If the difference were minor, there might be some refusal to concede. Yet the disparity was too evident. There's no point in comparison anymore. He ranks equally as Sister Shoju. The Ice Peak ancestor's eyes showed unwillingness. His influence and prestige mainly derived from Shoju. Shoju steadfastly supported him, advancing and retreating together. His command in the Ice Peak camp far surpassed the influence of the infinite snake ancestor in the innate primordial camp. Know that within the innate primordial camp, there are the 9 emperors, nominally equal. The infinite snake ancestor needs to ally with many ancestors to have such influence. Even so, the factions of the giant god emperor still pay little heed to the infinite snake ancestor. But in the Ice Peak camp, the entire camp is named after Ice Peak. Nominally, he is the absolute leader. In fact, besides the Pu Cheng ancestor, all other ancestors in the camp dare not truly oppose the Ice Peak ancestor. I really look forward to confronting Luo Feng. An unusual cube was extremely excited at this moment, as he loved all adventures and the thrill of facing powerful opponents. The destructive power is comparable to mine. The woman in grey stood on the deepest 27th level, a fighting spirit arising in her eyes. In the vast endless primordial space, there were very few who could tempt her to make a move. She had fought against starlight before, yet couldn't even touch it, making such battles meaningless. Shoju preferred this, the extreme destructive power of both sides clashing. She was eager to see who would ultimately be stronger. Brother Luo Feng, do you need this level of destruction world? Kharfu asked eagerly. For him, a thrilling battle was far more valuable than just one layer of a destruction world. No need. Luo Feng shook his head. Kharfu, have the world envoys attack me with all their might. Occupy a destruction world? From the 23rd to the 25th level, they were unclaimed. Taking over a layer wasn't difficult. It was possible that he might push further into the 28th and 29th levels. Naturally, he wouldn't require the layer offered by Kharfu. All right. Kharfu nodded, and with a thought, he commanded 230 world envoys to attack together. These world envoys resembled plant life, with a multitude of branches like arms. This power of destruction. Luo Feng stood there, beginning to feel the attacks from the world envoys on his body, revealing a joyful expression, could be called the power of life severing, composed of 7 parts destruction and 3 parts life. This layer's power of destruction greatly benefited him. It was the second type of power of destruction he had encountered, where life and destruction fused, while adventuring in the abyss of destruction. Luo Feng was immersed in cultivation, yet his battle with Kharfu stirred massive waves in the endless primordial space, affecting more and more factions. The innate primordial camp occupied more than half of the endless primordial space's territory. Many regions had no source world, yet still many low-level primordial life and high-level primordial life thrived and reproduced, for devouring the source world origin bore a threshold, requiring at least a world-level primordial life. The growing low-level primordial life and high-level primordial life required fewer resources to develop. In such a remote region, one of them was under the command of the Water Foolish Ancestor. Water Foolish Ancestor sheltered his own tribe, along with numerous weaker tribes who also were under his protection. He didn't wish to join any conflict. However, his strength, even at the ancestor level, was too weak, making it necessary to align with a powerful camp for the survival of the tribe. Thus, he allied with the innate primordial camp and selected the relatively peace-loving giant god emperor faction. Not every ancestor loves war. They join a major camp solely for better survival opportunities for their tribe. If one roams freely with no ties, an ancestor can live lavishly, residing anywhere or concealing their life core in hard-to-find places. However, for large tribe responsibilities, one has to be either strong enough to defy any other force, or join a great power for their protection. By joining the innate primordial camp, Water Foolish Ancestor enabled his entire tribe to reproduce peacefully. No one dared to threaten an ancestor of the innate primordial camp recklessly, as that'd mean challenging the whole camp. Indeed, he was a staunch supporter of the giant God Emperor faction, receiving its protection. But, of course, when a critical moment arrived, previous engagements of his faction required his participation. It's truly terrifying, even more so than the previous wars between the two major camps. Water Foolish Ancestor gazed into the abyss of destruction, having witnessed the battle between Luo Feng and Kafu. The abyss of destruction was where the strongest entities of the endless primordial space resided. Water Foolish Ancestor feared that he couldn't step into even the first level without being blasted out by Ba Wei Yu. Although Ba Wei Yu maintained a low profile in front of Luo Feng, he was ultimately ranked among the top 30 beings, and someone like Water Foolish Ancestor, an ordinary ancestor, stood little chance in his presence. To face one of the top 10 like Kafu, a figure I can only look up to, and have most of his body destroyed in just 3 strikes. Water Foolish Ancestor marveled, this Lord Luo Feng is probably at the very pinnacle within the endless primordial space. Facing such an existence, I must flee immediately, unable to withstand directly. The weaker the frontal combat strength of an ancestor, typically the stronger they are at self-preservation. After all, they possess at least one highest level power. In their area of expertise, their brilliance shines. There were too many watching ancestors, even if a few hadn't seen it firsthand. They were quickly given combat footage from their friends, allowing them to clearly witness the entire struggle between Luo Feng and Kafu. These ancient beings mostly had no qualification to contend for the first level of the abyss of destruction, yet they possessed certain observation secret techniques allowing some degree of judgment. They could all discern Lord Luo Feng's approximate level. Any contact would mean fleeing. Unable to confront head-on. Marvelous. Lord Mo Man was overjoyed. No wonder they used power-breaking technique. His strength rapidly surpassed ours. He's already stronger than me. Jin remarked from the 13th level, watching Luo Feng cultivating on the 16th level. Even so, Jin disliked Luo Feng's strategy of managing the territory. Luo Feng sought to eliminate any chances for tribulation cultivators, believing that one tribulation cultivator viewing all creatures of the source world as resources to cycle through realms, monopolizing the entire source world, severing all weak hopes was unacceptable. Luo Feng, considering the countless weak, believed that hopeless severing tribulation cultivators shouldn't exist. Jin, however, greatly admired tribulation cultivators, thinking of them as the elite, forged through countless lives. He himself followed this path. With differences in Tao, they couldn't work in unity. Jin was willing to occasionally join forces with Luo Feng for the camp's overall interest but preferred keeping his distance otherwise. Just because you're stronger doesn't mean you're right. Both Nai Ji and I are tribulation cultivators, perhaps a third or fourth tribulation cultivator might emerge in the future. Jin contemplated. On the 17th layer of the abyss of destruction, Feather Emperor stood there, calmly watching the scarlet-robed figure descending from above. Lord Luo Feng. Feather Emperor looked at him. Feather Emperor. Luo Feng also observed him. Each of those ranked in the top 10 had their own methods. Kafu was proficient in face-to-face combat, similar to Luo Feng, and was completely dominated in their most adept area. But Feather Emperor's style was entirely different. I know you want a world envoy to assist in your cultivation. Feather Emperor looked coldly at Luo Feng. Defeat me, and I can arrange for the world envoy to cooperate with you. Having once been besieged jointly by Mo Man, Jin, and Nai Ji, he was extremely embarrassed that time, naturally harboring some resentment towards other lords in the cultivator camp. Please. Luo Feng said politely. This battle was not a malicious fight for this layer of destruction world, but rather a contest between the two. Feather Emperor did not call upon the world envoy for assistance. Boom! Feather Emperor stood there, suddenly radiating endless light, shining throughout this layer of destruction world. Luo Feng was also illuminated by this light, feeling that light transform into countless threads, entwining and suppressing him. Feather Emperor's large-scale domain was extremely terrifying, combining the power of feather and light, with the support of the mysterious land feather realm. This domain's might was enough to halve the strength of a normal ancestor. Boom, Luo Feng moved, transforming into a blade light, instantly tearing through all luminous obstructions, passing by Feather Emperor as if he had completely sliced him apart. Feather Emperor seemed to remain in his original place but appeared in another location, unharmed. In terms of movement technique, he was omnipresent, on the same level as the infinite ancestor. Even with the added power of Blood Crane territory, Luo Feng couldn't touch Feather Emperor in the slightest. His movement breaks through the time limit. Luo Feng frowned. The so-called omnipresence refers to the same time point, being able to exist at any of numerous positions. Position changes entirely by heart. The infinite ancestor, back then, was able to save many ancestors during the wars between the two camps, despite the temporal suppression of starlight. Only this move left. Luo Feng instantly unleashed his saber. He swung the sky-splitting saber in his hand, and countless blade lights followed the life lock to strike out. In a moment, thousands of blade lights cleaved out, traversing through space and time, locking onto all Feather Emperor's energy around. Every light was slaughtered by these blade lights. Luo Feng continued to unleash truly terrifying, highly condensed blade lights. In just 2 or 3 moments, the entire destruction world simultaneously existed with more than 100,000 massive blade lights. These huge blade lights occupied 1/3 of the destruction world area, and chased from above and below. Luo Feng's primordial blade path ultimately wasn't perfected, but under the cooperation of the primordial life and death Dao's life lock, each blade's energy wasn't strong. To know, when dealing with Kafu, a single blade contained 1/10 of the energy reserves. Yet maintaining the life lock, the blade light's power was far weaker, though equivalent to some ordinary techniques of Mo Man and Jin. The key was that Luo Feng unleashed too many blade lights. Too much quantity. Luo Feng was entirely using sheer force to overpower. His energy reserves were enormous, and the energy reserves recovered in each moment were slightly more than the total energy reserves of Feather Emperor's entire body. No need to continue. Feather Emperor looked at the densely packed blade lights across the sky, each enormous and full of spirituality, destroying all light. If he didn't release his domain, it would lock onto his true body, and he spoke, "Did not expect I couldn't evade Lord Luo Feng's blade." In the abyss of destruction, with a continuous supply of energy, he could compete with Luo Feng. But outside, he would have to flee within 10 moments. If Feather Emperor wants to escape, it's just a thought to flee from my blade technique range. Luo Feng also understood his problem. His blade light chase had a range. Feather Emperor, infinite ancestor, they could cross many spaces in one step, eluding Luo Feng. Yes, only escape. Feather Emperor gently shook his head. Naijiu, Mo Man, and Jin teamed up to besiege him. But Luo Feng alone forced him to only escape. "I'll arrange for the plane envoy to besiege you." Feather Emperor immediately thought, summoning 200 world envoys from this layer of destruction world to jointly besiege Luo Feng. At this moment, on the 18th layer, the infinite ancestor also watched the entire battle clearly. "I'm slightly stronger than Feather Emperor, but facing Luo Feng's pursuit with tens of thousands of blade lights, I still can't break it." Infinite Ancestor was quite troubled. In the destruction world, he had energy supplementation to endure, but he was well aware that everyone compared in normal combat environments. Truly going all out, Luo Feng could easily ignore them, break through all obstructions, and imprint a mark on the shadow of origin to control a layer of destruction world. No matter how well they stealth, they couldn't stop Luo Feng from slicing off 80% of Kafu's body in 3 cuts. It's only that Luo Feng wasn't interested in seizing the destruction world, enabling a friendly competition. How to break it? Infinite Ancestor began to ponder deeply. However, over 1 epoch later, Luo Feng arrived at the 18th layer. A match between both sides. Infinite Ancestor still lost? His style was the same as Feather Emperor, the only advantage being his infinite power. The outburst was stronger, but Luo Feng could withstand the siege of dozens of ancestors with his formidable physique, now enhanced by the power of Blood Crane territory. The infinite ancestor's attack couldn't affect Luo Feng at all. Luo Feng's blade lights filled the sky. Life Lock chased all Infinite Ancestor's energy. Infinite Ancestor simply conceded. Various forces and many ancient beings closely watched Luo Feng's series of battles. Luo Feng consecutively defeated Feather Emperor and Infinite Ancestor, which was also within their expectations. After all, in their hearts, they had already regarded Lord Luo Feng as the highest level of combat power. On the 19th layer of the Abyss of Destruction, Luo Feng arrived here. Luo Feng. Yuan grinned widely, smiling happily. He had led the entire camp to reach today's status from its weakest period in the cultivator camp. He had experienced too many frustrations, suffered much hardship. Having another lord of highest combat power level in the camp, Yuan couldn't be happier. The stronger the lord, the brighter the future for his own camp. Incredible, Kafu, Feather Emperor, Infinite Ancestor, you can all defeat them directly, Yuan laughed. Even I am not confident in defeating that Infinite Ancestor. The Infinite Ancestor is omnipresent, now I can only deplete his energy reserves. Luo Feng understood this well. He only mastered one supreme level of destruction power, and with Life Lock in cooperation, the strength he could exert was limited. If he had a complete primordial blade path, in conjunction with the primordial life and death Tao, his techniques would be much more. How long have you been a lord? You're already quite formidable, Yuan laughed. Should I arrange for world envoys to besiege you now? Thank you, elder brother, Luo Feng nodded. Soon, a total of 150 world envoys appeared on this level and began to besiege Luo Feng. Luo Feng once again started to meticulously experience this latest kind of destruction power, sensing the mysteries of destruction within it. Although the 19 supreme levels of destruction power he has sensed to date mostly do not integrate the mysteries of life, he believed that insights can be gained from all aspects. Luo Feng's exploration of the mysteries of destruction still enhanced his accumulation in terms of destruction. Luo Feng felt that his choice was correct. The bottleneck encountered in comprehending the primordial blade path can be overcome by increasing destruction aspect accumulation in the Abyss of Destruction, which is indeed efficient. I can feel it, my accumulation in the aspect of destruction should be sufficient. Luo Feng had this judgment in the midst of it. No rush, accumulation can never be too much. Each level of the destruction world only consumes 1 or 2 eras of time. First, finish traversing the Abyss of Destruction. Luo Feng was in no hurry to leave the Abyss of Destruction. He could explore it fully before returning to the cultivator territory. It's strange to say, I've already reached the 19th level yet encountered no opportunity. This thought flashed through Luo Feng's mind, but he didn't dwell on it. Unlike other existences who confidently explore, when he reaches each level, it's primarily to confront world envoys. Naturally, the probability of encountering opportunities is much lower. Regardless, the main purpose of coming to the Abyss of Destruction has been achieved. Accumulation is sufficient. The next step is to integrate all accumulations and insights into one. Moreover, heart and Tao harmony is required, perfectly merging one's mind into the Tao to achieve the primordial blade path. Integration into one, heart and Tao harmony. These are the next 2 major hurdles. Before coming to the Abyss of Destruction, Luo Feng wasn't clear about the obstacles on the path to the primordial blade path. But now, he can definitively identify there are only these 2 remaining barriers. Elder brother, withdraw these world envoys, please. After more than 1 epoch had passed, Luo Feng said. Yuan immediately withdrew them with a thought, laughing, ready to go to the next level. I'll first retreat and train for a while on this level, Luo Feng said. He felt he had accumulated enough, and he would first attempt to integrate his insights into one. Even if he failed, he could go to the 20th and subsequent levels to continue accumulating and then try again. Different accumulations will lead to different insights when attempting to integrate into one. Yuan joyfully watched Luo Feng construct a cave mansion and begin his retreat and cultivation. I will also continue my cultivation. Yuan immediately returned to his cave mansion and became completely immersed, as he too was comprehending the origin system of the primordial rule operation path. Not coming to the 20th level. Ice Mountain Master was in the 20th level, ready for Luo Feng's challenge, but Luo Feng, who had stayed on the 19th level for more than 1 epoch, then withdrew the world envoys and began retreating. This made the Ice Mountain Master sigh with relief, because he knows he is no match for Luo Feng. But as the leader of the Ice Peak camp, he was reluctant to let Luo Feng step on him to achieve fame, yet he could not prevent it from happening. He had thought of different ways to maintain his dignity even in failure. Yet, when he was fully prepared mentally, Luo Feng didn't come for now. In the 19th level cave mansion, Luo Feng retreated for cultivation. Facing those world envoys was easy for him. He casually made moves, sometimes even facing them head-on. Yet, at this moment, trying to integrate insights into one to fully form the primordial blade path required him to experiment with powerful techniques repeatedly. Boom! With a casual flick of his finger, sharp blade light tore through the heavens and the earth. With a frown, lightly grasping with 5 fingers, 5 terrifying blade lights descended, forming a blade formation that annihilated all enemies within. In this process of thinking, integrating, and attempting, the primordial blade path became increasingly clear in Luo Feng's heart. Luo Feng lightly tapped with a finger. A point of blade light instantly pierced through the space-time obstruction of the entire 19th level destruction world, even penetrating down to the 20th level, startling the Ice Mountain Master. Suddenly, a time-space fluctuation occurred, which swept over Luo Feng, causing the cross-legged sitting Luo Feng to disappear. The master of the 19th level, Yuan, was taken aback. Suddenly a time-space fluctuation, and Luo Feng disappeared. Luo Feng, what's going on? Yuan immediately contacted Luo Feng's other avatars. I should have encountered an opportunity, Luo Feng replied. An opportunity? Yuan was stunned. He recalled that long ago, Kafu also encountered an opportunity during the exploration of the 19th level destruction world, entering a hidden spacetime and obtaining that battle armor that accompanied him for endless ages. Kafu and Luo Feng both passed through here, stayed for a short time, and got opportunities. I've been residing here forever and even controlling this level. Why haven't I ever encountered an opportunity? Yuan felt somewhat bitter at this moment. Countless layers of time and space intertwine, sheltering the core. Additionally, an immense vortex of destruction power forms, surrounding the core, twisting and shattering time and space. The closer you get to the core, the smaller and more concentrated time and space become, and once caught, it's easy to get completely lost. Luo Feng is currently being swept by a ripple of time and space, aimed at the core. Luo Feng, what's happening? Yuan is currently contacting Luo Feng's other avatars. Luo Feng gazes in awe at the distant core. This isolated time-space cuts off all connection with the outside. All time-space detection methods, life-chi mechanism detection methods, causality detection methods, cannot detect this place. I think I've encountered an opportunity. Luo Feng responds, then carefully observes the core. The surrounding vast vortex of destruction power contains countless mysteries, with destruction as the main essence, and life, matter, water, fire, wind, thunder, causality, darkness, earth, time, space, force, and other mysteries also integrated, ultimately forming an overwhelming and irresistible power of destruction. What a terrifying power of destruction, even my body would be annihilated in just a few moments. Luo Feng briefly senses it and makes a judgment. Perhaps in the entire endless primordial space, only the initial stands a chance to withstand this terrifying power of destruction. But the initial cannot even reach here. It can't even hold the first layer of the abyss of destruction. Luo Feng is swept by time-space ripples, and the destructive power naturally avoids him, not harming him at all. Even though the layers folded time-space would take starlight ages to decipher, Luo Feng is carried, continually approaching the core. I see it now. Luo Feng finally sees, amidst the overwhelming destruction power, barely visible, a mountain. This mountain seems to be the source of all destruction, even his sky-splitting saber trembles slightly. So many weapons. Luo Feng vaguely sees various weapons stuck into the mountain of destruction, swords, spears, axes, and many other forms of weapons. Countless destructive weapons are just a part of this mountain. Occasionally obtained destruction weapons when exploring the abyss of destruction should be nourished here. Luo Feng speculates. Whoosh! Under the sweep of time-space ripples, Luo Feng gets closer and closer to the mountain of destruction. Boom! When he finally flies out of the vortex of destruction power, the mountain of destruction appears clearly in front of him. The mountain itself is pitch black, with thick black mist flowing over its body. The weapons it nurtures emit some gloss, and most conspicuous are clusters of light, a total of 34 clusters on the mountain of destruction, like 34 stars in the dark. Their lights converge and flow, resembling the veins of the mountain of destruction. The third ultimate life form to arrive at the mountain of destruction. If you can pass the 7 trials, you can control the abyss of destruction. Luo Feng, upon reaching the outermost part of the mountain of destruction, receives a message. Luo Feng is slightly surprised, eyes shimmering. Pass the 7 trials, and you can control the abyss of destruction. The entire endless primordial space doesn't know the origin core of the mysterious land abyss of destruction, nor how to control it. Unexpectedly, as soon as he arrived here, he learned this secret. Besides me, 2 other ultimate life forms also know this secret. Luo Feng thinks. Kafu once encountered an opportunity in the 19th layer of the abyss of destruction and obtained that piece of battle armor. Other strong figures who explored the abyss of destruction have occasionally encountered opportunities, but never obtained anything too precious. Only Kafu obtained something truly precious, which is known to the outside world. If Kafu has been here, it means there has been another strong figure here too. Luo Feng looks at the mountain of destruction in front of him. If Kafu hasn't been here, then who are the other 2 ultimate life forms? The other 7 lords of my cultivator camp might not have been here. Luo Feng thinks. Regarding the information on the abyss of destruction, the 7 lords have shared their records, but none have recorded this place. Either they haven't been here, or they've been here and kept it a secret. Starlight isn't one to be so petty. If he hasn't recorded here, he probably hasn't been. Luo Feng vaguely understands, strength alone doesn't ensure entry to this place. To come here, there must be some screening threshold. Counting himself, only 3 have been screened. Let's get a closer look. Luo Feng is quite curious about the 34 clusters of light on the mountain of destruction and immediately flies over. At the foot of the mountain of destruction lies a vast land. As Luo Feng flies closer, the sense of invisible suppression grows stronger, and eventually, he has to land. Like the mysterious land of eternity, where suppression is generally very strong throughout the vast area, the suppression within this hidden time-space of the mountain of destruction, in the abyss of destruction, is much smaller and grows stronger the closer you get. Even the weaker ancestors will be pinned down, unable to advance. Luo Feng walks forward, his speed is extremely fast, and he also sees a mountain path. The 34 clusters of light on the mountain of destruction converge into veins, naturally shaping into a path that leads directly from the foot to the top of the mountain. With my strength, being suppressed means I cannot fly. Therefore, to reach the top of the mountain of destruction, one should only be able to go via the path. Luo Feng speculates, but of course, this is only speculation. Luo Feng looked ahead. At the foot of the mountain, there were 7 sculptures. The first sculpture was a massive bird of prey. The material of the sculpture was the same as the mountain of destruction, both made of black matter. The second sculpture was a 9-headed giant snake, closely resembling the infinite great serpent, Clan. The third sculpture was a misty form with an eye on its surface. It was very similar to the undying hermit. The fourth sculpture was a large cube, but this cube was made up of 125 smaller cubes. The fifth sculpture was a black star. The sixth sculpture was a black mountain, very similar to the mountain of destruction. The seventh sculpture was actually a miniature abyss of destruction. Within this miniature abyss, each layer had smaller sculptures, and Luo Feng could recognize them as Ba Wei Yu, primordial beast ancestor. Wulan, Jin, Ming Huang, Mo Man. Mogus, Feather Emperor, Kafu, Infinite Ancestor, Yuan, I Speak Ancestor. Starlight, Shoju. In history, those who have once controlled a layer of destruction world, besides me, are all included in the seventh sculpture. Luo Feng was shocked in his heart. Information came through. Luo Feng immediately understood, these 7 sculptures were the 7 trials. According to the sequence, only by defeating the weaker sculptures could one qualify to challenge the stronger ones. Once all 7 sculptures are defeated, one could control the entire abyss of destruction. Luo Feng walked towards these sculptures. Boom! As Luo Feng approached a certain distance, the bird of prey sculpture suddenly erupted in terrible flames. Its eyes lit up, and its head tilted slightly, scrutinizing Luo Feng. The endless flames from the bird of prey sculpture rushed in all directions, also impacting Luo Feng's body surface. Luo Feng's blood-red robe flapped fiercely, and a protective energy layer on its surface resisted these erosive impacts. The bird of prey sculpture grinned. Bang! The bird of prey sculpture was already upon Luo Feng, its movement resembling Feather Emperor and Infinite Ancestor omnipresent. So even though Luo Feng had the power of the Blood Crane territory as an enhancement, he couldn't avoid this pounce. The wings of this bird of prey sculpture, like a giant sharp blade, slashed onto Luo Feng's blood-red robe. The protective energy layer was torn apart, the blood-red robe shook, and Luo Feng's body slightly trembled, stepping back a pace. His retreating step caused the ground to tremble violently, creating numerous cracks. Immediately following, the giant claws of the bird of prey sculpture appeared out of thin air, already grasping towards Luo Feng's chest. Luo Feng extended a hand and caught this fierce claw. The fiery bird of prey struggled fiercely but couldn't break free. From within Luo Feng, 10,800,000,000 units of origin energy erupted, with one hand grabbing the fiery bird of prey, hurling it fiercely against the ground. Boom! Luo Feng smashed it into the ground with a single hand, but at the instant of smashing the ground, the bird of prey sculpture dispersed into endless flames. Yet again, a giant bird's head appeared in front of Luo Feng, spewing terrifying 5-colored flames, scorching Luo Feng's body. Luo Feng endured the 5-colored flames, taking a step, his silhouette transforming into blade light, slashing through the bird's head. The confrontation was extremely rapid. The bird of prey sculpture gathered and dispersed unpredictably, omnipresent. The flames fierce and violent, the body immensely powerful. This bird of prey sculpture, although its techniques are clumsy, its power is extremely strong. Comprehensively, it ranks within the top 20 in endless primordial space. Luo Feng judged, comparable to the Infinite Ancestor, before breaking through. And this is only the first sculpture? In the brief exchange, each time Luo Feng cleaved open the flaming sculpture's body, he also identified the location of this bird of prey sculpture's energy core. As the bird of prey sculpture reconverged. Slash! Luo Feng stretched out his hand, 5 fingers instantly emitting 5 dazzling blade lights. 5 beams of blade light descended majestically, forming a terrifying formation. The blade formation completely enveloped the area of the flaming bird of prey, and within it, the blade light tore through, finally reaching the core within the flaming bird of prey. At the moment of contact, the flaming bird of prey completely dissipated. Flames gathered not far away, reforming into the original bird of prey sculpture. Motionless. Luo Feng's scattered blade light was naturally absorbed by the ground beneath, forming a trace that Luo Feng also understood. Just like a seat in the land of eternity, after leaving a trace, he can directly transform and descend next time, without painstakingly traveling over. The Mountain of Destruction is similar. Passing the test of the first sculpture grants one the qualification to leave a trace, allowing direct descent in the future. As his own trace merged into the ground beneath, Luo Feng also felt as if the majestic mountain of destruction before him became much more intimate, and the originally intangible rule obstacles completely dissipated. The 34 glows on the mountain of destruction, now without rule obstacles, also became incredibly clear. These 34 glows, in their true form, are like clusters outlined by 34 types of highest-level secret patterns of the power of destruction. This video will end here.